Okay. Okay, can you all hear me and see my slides?
We can, yes. You're
Okay.
welcome to start anytime.
Okay, perfect. Hi, everyone. Thank you all for coming today. My name is Preeti Sivakumar. I'm a third-year psychology major on the pre-med track. My mentor is Dr. Rebecca Rickert, who's our moderator today. The title of my presentation is The Magic of Memory, an Illustrated Supplemental Guide. So let's get started. So I'm just going to start by giving you all a quick outline of my book. It has 3 chapters: short-term memory, working memory, long-term memory, and study tips, which I will be sharing with you all later in the presentation. So as many of us know, certain subjects are notorious for being difficult to understand, like cognition, chemistry, physics, etc. So as I was doing my research about this topic, because I was interested in it, before I started my book, I found that the general consensus was that visualizations or images have been proven to allow students to better understand and retain difficult concepts. So essentially, the purpose of me making this book was just to kind of simplify academic writing that can be oftentimes is a bit complex with a lot of jargon involved. So people outside of the academic sphere are it might be a little difficult for them to understand what their research is talking about. So I just wanted this book to be easy enough for a wide range of people to understand and learn about memory, which I was really passionate about. So right now I'm going to be showing you all a video, a quick video on the process of how I made my book. All right, hi everyone. So I'm going to be showing you all how I made the magic of memory. So I'm going to be walking you through my drawing process as well as some excerpts from my actual book. So let's get started. All right, first up we have my character design. So I had to come up with characters from scratch for these panels. So here we have Anjana on the left and Jihoon on the right. They're both middle schoolers and they're really passionate and enthusiastic about learning and memory. So next we have something what I call a panel sketch. So this is kind of like the preliminary sketch that I made before I even sketched my real panel. So as you can see, it's nothing pretty, nothing fancy. It's literally just stick figures because the purpose of doing this is just for me to get an idea of what the characters are going to be saying and like what I was going to draw, basically. So it didn't need to be too fancy. I just need to get a sense of like what I was actually going to draw. So next, I kind of skipped a step, but basically right after that, I would be going into my sketching of like my actual panel. So making everything look nice, making everything look pretty. And then right after that, I would do inking. So that means I basically just went over it with like a pen. And then next, the last step of the process is me just putting on color and fixing up like all the lines and making sure everything's colored in, nothing's out of place. So yeah, this is kind of the finished product of like what one of my drawings looks like. All right, so now let's get into some excerpts from my book. So before we do that, I wanted to show you all some of my finished drawings since there were kind of a lot. I mean, I couldn't fit all of them into this page, but this is the first panel that I did. As you can see, it's very long. I didn't know like how big I wanted my drawings to be. I kind of just went overboard with the first one and it took me I think 3 to 5 days to finish it, so like almost a week. So after that I was like, I definitely can't do this much for every drawing, so I ended up shortening it to about 3 panels, which was perfect. It was big enough for me to get my message across, like what I wanted to tell the reader. So as you can see, it's kind of each panel kind of takes one small topic and explains it like kind of like a real life example that these two characters are talking about. So in a lot of these panels, they're usually like studying for a test, they're talking about like a lesson, and they're both helping each other out along the way. So now I wanted to bring you guys' attention to one of the sections from my first chapter from short-term memory. So I talk about attention in this section. So a lot of my texts have like examples that the reader can kind of relate to. Like, for example, here I talk about like making pasta, and in class you're focusing your attention on what the teacher is saying and writing down notes. And then I say that your attention lets you ignore distractions and continue the steps of the task at hand. So I think a lot of people would be able to relate to at least one of the two examples. So it kind of allows them to like understand my more complicated terms or examples. So that's why I wanted to highlight this section. And then lastly, I really quickly wanted to go over this really cool section with you guys, because most of you guys are students. I'm a student. So, I just have this study tips section. It's kind of a journey of like how I evolved my study tips. So I won't read this whole thing, but the biggest thing I wanted to highlight is kind of like active studying. So the biggest mistake that I was making and a lot of students make is we don't want to do active studying, like practice tests and practice exams, because obviously you might get a lot of stuff wrong initially, at least, and it kind of makes you feel dumb in a way, like, because kind of like, oh, I don't know that much, I guess, or oh, I'm dumb, I feel dumb in this class. But that's actually the biggest mistake, because in order to do well on the real test, you kind of have to know what you don't know, if that makes sense. You have to know what to study before you study, essentially. So once I discovered that, it might seem obvious to a lot of you guys, because some people have these study tips from a very young age, but I did not. So once I started doing that, I finally saw the results that I wanted. I had A's mostly, and my grades started improving in like hard science classes and like other classes. So yeah, I just wanted to highlight this one tip for you guys. If you want to know more, definitely read my book. It'll be out soon if that's something you're interested in. And yeah, thank you guys for listening. I hope you all enjoyed kind of a look into my process. Okay, so that was my video. So kind of some ending thoughts for you all. So what did I learn? So I definitely learned a lot throughout the process. Some of you might have noticed like there's a really big difference between my first comic or like the panel and then kind of my last few ones. I definitely had to figure out how I wanted to draw the characters and everything like throughout the book. And I also learned about memory myself through doing my research. Through the process of like writing my book, I learned things about memory that I didn't even know. And then I also learned that obviously creating a book is a very arduous process. So it's not easy. I mean, I didn't think it would be easy coming into it, but it is very, just like any other research, it's a very arduous process. So some of my next steps, I am going to be trying to get my book published. So that's really exciting. And for that, I'm probably going to be continuing to work on my book even further, like maybe making some cover art, additional drawings, editing my text, adding more information, etc. And the reason I'm doing all this is because like I said in the beginning, my goal is to educate as many individuals as possible about memory. It's something I'm really passionate about, and I think everyone could benefit from learning from it. So hopefully I get to publish my book and maybe even sell my book one day. So yeah, thank you all for listening to my presentation today, and I'd be happy to answer any questions you all might have.
Thank you, Preeti. Really, really great presentation. You can stop recording now if you'd like to, and then we will open the floor to questions.